I'm Steve from Ocean State Libraries, which is kind of where you are right now, the Ocean State.
And I'm Sue Rousseau, and I'm the director of the library in Little Compton, which is one of the smallest towns in the state, probably. And I have one of the smallest libraries in the state.
And a year and a half, 2 years ago, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Sue came to me with this neat idea, and I got really excited about it. She has a lot to say about it. I probably have about 30 seconds worth of useful information to share that I will stretch to fill whatever time I am directed to do so by El Presidente over there. But I think for now, I turn it over to Sue for the why. Why did we do this?
So
I think
this is going to be the non-coding part of the day because I don't do any of that. So as I said, I have a 1,300 square foot building. It's almost 1,300 square feet. I have 24,000 items in that library when I showed up 4.5 years ago. So as you imagine, we are using every square inch of space that we have. So this was our fiction, adult fiction. There are 7 rows of shelving. The first one is this far off the floor. The other one is outside of my reach. I'm 5'4". And a lot of my patrons are my height. So the building has window seats. It's an old building. This is the children's area, and she's using the window seats and the window sills. We had stuff everywhere. It's overwhelming. I found it very overwhelming. And so the first thing I did was start getting rid of stuff. I've spent 4.5 years getting rid of stuff. But in addition to the weeding, I'm also looking at how people use our building. Oh, you're ahead of me. We don't have enough places for people to sit and do their work from home. We don't have space for kids. So I'm also looking at the larger picture. How do people use my space? How can I reorganize it? We talked to architects. I can't go up, I can't go out. I'm on 0.2 acres. So I have to make use of what I have. All right. So after several rounds of weeding, I was very excited I could have face out books in my adult nonfiction shelf. And the children's librarian got a bolus of money. The children's librarian has weeded heavily her nonfiction collection. She's bought more better items for that. I get stuck in my head about the classic weeding philosophy. You need to have a little bit of everything, right? You have to have the best, a little bit, all topics so people can come to you. I can't do that. I don't have the space. And so I need to figure out what I can not have. And so how to figure that out, how to figure out what my patrons are getting off the shelf versus what we're sending out into the consortium. I'm a net lender in Rhode Island, so I lend out more than I borrow. But I need to serve my population. And so just trying to figure out how this works, I had a lot of trouble. I was at a meeting about data, and someone in the meeting had gone to the 2024 PLA conference. And there was a presentation called Is Bigger Better? Collection versus Space and Equity. And they were talking about not having enough space. And of course, this library was like 15,000 square feet or something completely ridiculous. But it sounded like what I was trying to do on a much smaller scale. In the presentation, the consultant they hired was from Third Way. And they had part of their thing was how to make a heat map in 197 easy steps. And so Steve got in touch with me and he said, I think I can do that.
So I guess the first conversation that Sue and I had was, what is this? Like, what is this heat map thing? So apparently there's this measuring system where they look at your square footage, and you designate, you tell the system like it's this location, this call number from here to here is occupying 10 square feet. And so you're looking at circulation per square foot as a measure of how effective are you using the space in that library. And you do it over, for this system, 6 weeks is what they had done. So square footage, 6 weeks. Square footage in 1,300 square feet really isn't, it's a difficult measure. And so we kind of did a little variation on that because you're also making use of whatever shelving you can get your hands on. So square footage really isn't a fair measure. So we flipped it a little bit. We cheated and we used linear feet rather than square feet because we figured that'd be, you can buy thinner shelves if you want it. But we thought that would be a little bit easier to manage and whatnot. So we did some cleanup. We created a lot of new shelving locations, which that I forgot to put in here, but in our old system, in the long, long ago days of Millennium, you were limited to the number of shelving locations you could have. And so we had adult everything under the sun and then children's. And then we had like a million barcode prefixes that the libraries would insert at the beginning of their barcodes for all the different locations within children's. And we don't have those constraints in Koha, which is fantastic. So I think the first thing we did was tidied up the collection and actually created all of those new shelving locations they did your children's library, and I think did the hard work of transferring all the books around and everything. So that was great.
We did this immediately after migrating into Koha, so we were kind of gluttons for punishment at that point. But we were already looking at our collection and cleaning up the data.
Yeah, so I'll turn it back to you we're sort of getting a sneak preview of the data, and then I'll tell you how we got here. But I think what Sue does is much more interesting than the little thing I did.
Well, so there's some peculiarities to my community and to how we have it set up. And I don't expect you to be able to read any of this, but the important stuff is that blue is cold, it's not being touched. Red is hot, it is being touched. White is the intermediary. My building is over here. This is all of it. The blue spaces are for children's. So as Steve said, we have 9 shelving locations in those 2 very small rooms. On the other side is adult, new books, mysteries. The center has audiobooks. The back is large print, adult fiction, adult nonfiction, biography. It's like everything else. And then this little area, we've moved stuff in to be a teen annex. And it's also a meeting space, and there's some local history because you got to use every space that you have. And so one of the things I was not good enough at was writing down exactly when I made all these changes, because these changes tend to happen over long periods of time, because I would love to do nothing but weeding, but that's not what they're paying me to do. So I keep getting interrupted with like budgets and payroll. So, so what this is each column is a month, or it's 3 weeks, and it starts in January of 2024, and it's every other month until July of 25. Now, the big white space in the top left-hand corner is because we didn't have all those shelving locations for children's. And I've organized the data in line with the blueprint of my building. So the top block is kids. So that's the blue parts of the thing. And you can see that for a town of 3,600 with 1 pre-K to 8 school, the average age of my community is 58. We do not have a lot of little kids. So the first batch of number of red in the top block is children's. And this was after she had updated her nonfiction collection. This was after she had created better labels. She'd done a lot of stuff before this even started. We also are a summer community. So all the summers are going to be bright red, and then it dwindles down as all the summer people leave, right? So you can see that she has a strong start, and then we had some blues show up, and then the last column is this past July, and the top darkest red is first readers. So for those who are not children's librarians, that's the really limited vocabulary books you give to kids who are just learning to read. So it's a really short period of time when kids are interested in this, and they're not literary greats, so you do not go back to them. She re-leveled them, she labeled them, and bought some new ones. And that was one of the strongest collections to go out with browsers this summer. So weeding helps. Fixing up your collection really helps. And this is, there's so many things that I see on this. So the next batch with blues and some pinks is new adult stuff. And this back is what I was afraid of, which is people walk into the building. The circ desk is right here. They say hi, they get the new books, they leave, or they pick up their holds and they leave. So I am still working on this, but there are some pinks, very pale pinks in the last column. So we're making some progress. This teen graphics, once we were able to put the teen graphic novels with the rest of the teen books, they blasted off. So there's so many kind of things that I see with this. One other thing that I just did last week, and I'm interested to see what happens, is that we had a puzzle collection, like jigsaw puzzles that get dropped off and people can just take them. And I'd thrown them in a window seat in the front room because they were really visible and it was an obvious spot. Well, with all this weeding, now I have a bank of shelves that are empty at the end of my biography section for adults. So I've put all the puzzles there. So now they have to walk all the way through the building to here to get their puzzles. And I'm really hoping that they will see stuff that they also want to check out. So this, you can kill a lot of birds with one stone with this. All right, so go ahead. All right, so this is the blow up of the children's section. And I think I probably mostly talked about what I said, what's here. The most important thing is to remember when you did stuff. I did not do that. It's been painful to go back and try to figure it out.
Yeah, and I guess this is where I come in for a hot minute. I'm a consortium guy and I love data, and I love nothing more than giving library directors actionable data to do really cool stuff. So I love data, I love koha reports, I love SQL, and I love Tableau, and I put all that stuff together. So what I also love is scaling things. That's my consortium brain. So while I wanted to build something and get Sue the data she wanted, I also wanted to do it in a way that was easily, like, we could just deploy this to any library in the consortium that's interested, and we can. And I really have to thank George for this, because when I went to, I don't forget whether it was a meeting we were at or whether it was koha-US in Portsmouth, but he said something about being able to add your own authorized values with whatever you wanted to make koha reports easier. And I was like, I can do something with that. And so what we did, again, hot minute here, we just created an XML data structure here to hold the data for the heat zone. And, so just the branch, the name of the zone, so she could call it whatever she wanted, location, call number beginning, call number ending, how many square or linear feet in our case was it. And that's a heat zone, really easy. You're limited in how long, how much data you can put into the authorized value field. So that needed to be shorter. So had to shorthand it just a little bit. I should have made them pink. Where are they? And then just using extract value to, grab the data out of that XML and build some really crazy query which takes forever to run. I
It is.
apologize. Yeah, there's limits to my SQL. I am not a samurai when it comes to that stuff. I'm hoping to learn. I need to learn what is it? Window functions. That's my next thing I need to tackle. But anywho, um, if you want to see what's new and improved, I was like, wait a minute. I can just load these heat zones into Tableau right into our circulation dashboard as its own spreadsheet, and it's done. And it's done. So all the library has to do is give me the same spreadsheet that Sue gave me. I don't have to convert it into XML, although I will for the people who want to run it in Koha. And now it's a tab in our circulation dashboard now, which she can run whenever she wants on whatever date range she wants. And that's that. And you like it better in Tableau because
quicker because you can just drag the little thingies because I am not a coder person. You just drag the thing and you can change the date. One of the things, it's careful to pick the right date because when I first started trying to get this, I looked back at the original presentation and he did like 2 weeks. And if I pick the wrong 2 weeks, there's some sections haven't had any books checked out because I'm a tiny library. And so you want to choose your time frame really carefully.
And you're also a vacation destination library, so.
Not so much. We get snow now and then. We have early, darkness, so people don't want to go out. So make sure you set yourself up to get good data by choosing the right time frame.
Yeah. So we probably have to stretch this longer. I'm not sure where we are on time, but that's us again. And Nellie signing autographs somewhere, not here, just somewhere. And if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them. Oh, yeah, we shouldn't.
No, I got it.
Me too.
I was expecting him to kind of grab it from the.
This is Christy for those online. How dependent is using Tableau for this workflow?
Not at all. This was an add-on. I use Tableau to share basically all the data with the directors, and they're used to it. They find it easy, I think.
Yeah.
She says yes. And so I think it was just natural to slide it in there. But no, I originally did this as a really complicated Koha report, and the script for it is hiding somewhere, and I'm happy to share it with anybody if you can find me.
You guys just want cookies.
Yeah. You can boo us and go eat cookies if you want.
All right, Galen Charlton. So at the risk of standing between y'all and cookies, I'm curious if you've had any thoughts about doing a visualization, because when you went through the presentation, what I thought that you were about to say is, here's this visualization overlaying the heat zones against a map of the stacks in that library building.
I'll start, but you have something to say too, right? Yeah, just like my SQL skills could use a spit and polish, my Tableau's even worse. But some of my staff are looking to do some Tableau training, so who knows what the future holds, but here.
Yeah, and I have no Adobe Acrobat skills. So that's why I came up with that. The presentation done by Third Way is a beautiful rendition of exactly what you described. And it's a beautiful thing, and they show like over time and how it works. And yeah, it's a thing of beauty, but I didn't have the bandwidth or the software to do that.
There's some amazing people with some Tableau skills that would rock your world in the Ripple community that you can find. I know one of them, and one day I'm going to grab her and bring her into this.
I just spent an hour bragging about my ignorance. So was the spreadsheet, you kept saying that was weeding, but so that wasn't checkouts.
It was.
It was, okay. And then you were using that to weed, but also to move items around.
Yeah, so the spreadsheet was the results of his SQL magic, right?
Yeah.
That I don't understand. And so those numbers were the results from so because it's a mathematical function, what you end up with, and the bigger the number, the happier you are, right? Okay, so that's why it's shading, like the first big shade is 10.73 or something, right?
Okay, so you just did conditional formatting.
So I did, yes. I was delighted to discover that Excel would do this.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm busy. I don't do a lot of, software stuff. So, so when I look at this, I know where the spots are. So I can look at it and recognize where we're doing well and where we're not doing well and where that is in the building. But for you guys, right, I didn't, and so that's why I set it up with the building, because that's as close as I could get to what Galen was talking about.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. And this is Molly from Euless Library talking for those online. So the picture of the building, your reds and your yellows and those are matching your Excel sheet.
Back.
Oh,
Yeah, that,
Right.
yeah. So he's pulling up the
fancy tablet.
fancy Tableau thing. But so the picture with the outline of my building, that is an Excel spreadsheet that I dumped all the data into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he colored this and he did a lot of stuff in this, but I needed to show it over time because otherwise it wasn't going to make any sense.
What is that heat column?
So the heat is that final number, the final mathematical thing. So it shows that it's used a lot. The higher the number, the red. Here, you colorize.
It's just a circulation per linear foot in that time frame.
Okay.
It's super simple.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And then he colorized it so that like that 14.29 that's there, it's because 100 early readers went out between June 20th and July 31st in my teeny tiny little library. And the bigger spreadsheet that I get from the Koha report also shows like how many items I have, how many, it gives me all of the other data.
I've also thought that a couple other ways you could look at this would potentially be like circ per item. So 800 items, 70 of the items went out. So looking at how much of your collection's going, or other ways that we could do it other than linear feet.
Yeah, there was a turnover rate that was circulating in his Excel spreadsheet like 10 years ago in some sort of library, probably teen library world, that I've held on to, and it figures out how, if all your items went out once, how many times would they go out, kind of thing. And I do it every year for all my collections, and I can do it now with Koha. We can do the things that go out to the consortium and the things that stay in-house. That are just taken by our browsers versus going out with interlibrary loan. And so I run that every year, and I use that also to show what he's talking about. If you have 800 items and you have 800 circs, then 1 is the number, everything goes out once. And it shows kind of how much your collection is being used. And then there's another formula in this spreadsheet that also shows whether your collection is too big or too small, depending on the circulation numbers, right? And so I kind of use both of them because it helps me to drill down on collection sizes and gives me more ammunition. So when I'm weeding, I can use that.
This is Kim from Hotchkiss. Once you've shrunk yourselves in the collections, was room swapping on the table at all? Because I know like we've had to do shrinking for the purposes of room swapping, and that is a whole other additional, thing.
Yeah, I'm not, I have to take on 7 things instead of just doing one at
Yeah, I
a
know.
time. Yeah, so what I'm doing is reducing the collection size both for that and also the architect that I talked about before. I got a grant to pay her to come up with some concepts for reorganizing the inside of my building. And I'm also trying to get the collection sizes down so it will fit in my favorite version of those concepts so that I have like space that's not the main entryway to have programs and yeah. So yeah, I'm doing 12 things at once, but I keep taking passes because the old librarian in me is like, no, but you have to have something on philosophy. And
I know.
and so I'm working it, but this kind of makes me feel better because as the things turn redder, I'm doing progress. Like and as the turnover rates go up and like all the data that I'm collecting like is backing me up. And then the idea is that I will then hire the architect to come back and say, my collection size is right. Give me construction documents. We will reorganize the building, get rid of the horrible shelving you saw there, free up some space, let all my summer work from home people have a place to put their laptops down that's not balancing on their laps. We have a pavilion outside. It's a 600 square foot pavilion, which is a humongous space for my library, but it doesn't work in the winter. But a lot of them go out there for the summer. So yeah, it's part of a grander plan that does involve swapping rooms. And
Great.
Yeah.
There's
okay.
no question.
We only want to hear them if they're nice comments.
So this is George again. There are a couple of online comments. So Brendan Gallagher from Bywater says, pretty awesome. I love this great use of data. And then San Luis Obispo says, this is so cool. We love these. So no bad comments as you requested.
Cookies?
This is Andrew. I have a question. And I've been like trying to formulate this question in a way that is not just, how does it work? So you build the heat maps in the authorized values, and then does each item get an authorized value assigned to it? Like you're doing that in the cataloging? How are you then using those authorized values in the report?
I'm doing it because for some strange reason, you can use greater than and less than on text values
Sure.
in SQL, which I find weird because I'm more of a numbers person, but it works. And so you can actually construct a query and a join using greater than or less than, which is incredibly inefficient, but it works. And yeah.
So the authorized value serves as a place that stores all of those parameters of the heat zone so that you can say in your report, group up everything in heat zone 1 and somewhere in Koha, it knows that heat zone 1 is this call number range.
Yeah, basically it's this item is in this location and this call number. Join that to the authorized values table based on, and this is where this is where George, who I stole the idea from, is probably going to whack me because I'm joining it using extract value in the join, so it really chugs along, but it works.
I guess I'd like to see the report of one of the uses.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you, and then George can share the cleaned up version with everybody.
I will also mention before I give up the microphone, because I have it and it's mine. We do have tomorrow and the day after working sessions that are just open time to play with stuff that you want to play with. So you could perhaps convince Steve to show you his report in a working session.
And we did share it, so if there's like handouts going out at some point, it's in the Google stuff that we shared with koha-US, so it can come out.
Valerie had a question.
This is Valerie. I'm still trying to follow up on what Andrew asked and picture this. So you have the authorized values. Are they assigned to something, or do you just use them? Like, are they in the items table, or are they just something that you use on the way to reporting?
You just link to the presentation and not the folder. That's cool. So you will not be looking at the code right now, because I couldn't type my Google password in to save my life. But
Slide, what's that?
no, I didn't. I don't have the sequel up there. I started to, and it looked like it's like pages long, and it just would be ridiculous to put on the screen, which is why I left it. But we made a lovely Google Doc with a URL to another Google Doc that has the query in it. And we'll share that.